All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining our event today, Maximizing Your Productivity with Smart Canvas and Google Docs. We are so excited to have Googler Product Manager Dennis Hu with us today. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Before we get started and jump in, again, want to just say thank you for joining. I know your time is valuable and precious and really appreciate you joining today. My name is Carissa, and I am a program manager in the workspace community. And again, joining us today is Dennis, and he is going to be taking you through content and answering your questions today. We encourage your questions, so please feel free to add those into the YouTube chat box, and we'll be sure to get them into the chat answered. We do have a few pre-submitted questions. Thank you so much for those who did submit those questions ahead of time, and we'll cover those as well then. For any questions that we don't get to live, we do have a recap post in the Google Cloud community, and there will be a link to that in the YouTube description. All right, everybody, with that, we'll hand it over to wonderful Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis, for your time, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Great. Thanks, Carissa. Hey, everyone. My name is Dennis. I lead our product team for Google Docs. I'm very excited to be here today to speak with you all. I really do appreciate you all taking your time and also submitting some of your early questions as well. Very helpful for us to obviously see, the input from all of you. And I'm going to be walking through today how to maximize your productivity with Smart Canvas and Google Docs. It's a very exciting product feature within our Google Docs product that we launched in 2021. And really, it was gauged to really push Google Docs towards the next evolution of collaboration for Google Workspace. Our goal with Smart Canvas when we launched it back in 2021 was really to make our documents more intelligent, more helpful, and more actionable as well. And you can see here just some of the actual articles that actually came up over the last couple years, I would say, as we've continued to evolve and innovate on top of what we've launched with Smart Canvas. It's very exciting. I know some of you all have said you did not know what Smart Canvas was. So hopefully today will be a great introduction to those of you that do not know yet what Smart Canvas is and have not been using it. And then for those that have been using it, I hope today is a great refresher as well as some great insights into how to use it even more. So let me start with really kind of what is Smart Canvas? I think often at times folks have likely heard about Smart Canvas or maybe seen Smart Canvas on other documents that you've been working on, but may not actually realize what exactly is it. So the goal of today really is to show you all more in terms of what that is and how you can start using it and how you can show your organization how to better take advantage of the capabilities that we have built within Google Docs. So Smart Canvas really, in a nutshell, is the collection of components that really boosts collaboration and productivity by connecting objects and creating seamless journeys across workspace. What does that actually mean? Well, really, at the end of the day, it's really two core components that I'll be talking about today. The first one specifically being what we call Smart Canvas building blocks, and I'll walk you all through that. And then the second component being Smart Canvas Smart Chips, which again, I'll also walk you all through that. So if there's really two things to think about when you leave today's session, when people ask you about Smart Canvas, tell them it's about Smart Canvas building blocks and tell them that I learned a lot about Smart Canvas Smart Chips as well. So let's dive in. Building blocks will be the first kind of key area that I'll be diving into. And really, you can think of building blocks, Smart Canvas building blocks, as the ability for users to really quickly and effectively start their document. Building blocks, we've built it so that they can integrate directly and seamlessly in between workspace apps as well. And of course, I'll show examples of this. But really, it starts to expand the basis of what a doc is. I think hopefully folks have all seen the continued evolution of how people actually use docs in their workplace each and every day. And, not even maybe 5, 10 years ago, people are still printing. People are still printing a lot of things, and bringing them into meetings. And of course, as folks continually adopted onto cloud-based products like Google Docs, the idea of printing became less and less a necessity. And what then happens is that users can now stay in this digital canvas, in this digital world a lot more. And what that allows us to do within products like Docs is really expand that basis of what a doc is and start to create a lot more dynamic and interactive experiences. Oh, my light just went off. And so, really, what users can do with these building blocks is really start to quickly start drafts for emails. They can do brainstorming sessions. We can take quick notes. And it really starts to bring together a lot of these connected and differentiated experiences as well within the product. So I'm going to go ahead and start walking you all through more around how you can take advantage of these building blocks and how you can take advantage of Smart Canvas in your everyday workflows. So the first key thing to note here is our entry point. Again, hopefully folks have seen this and hopefully folks have been starting to do this. If not, you can even try doing it right now. Go ahead and hit in a Google Doc if you have it open. And you can actually see what we call this entry point dialog that allows users to start to select options that basically give you the ability to select those building blocks or those smart chips. And the ability for you to do that is really anywhere within the doc. It's going to be the quickest and fastest way for you to get to Smart Canvas. Users can also go into the insert menu and actually insert building blocks as well as smart chips directly through the doc that way. But I like to prefer to use the @ sign. It's a lot quicker and a lot easier for me to actually get to what I need to do. In addition to smart Canvas building blocks as well as smart chips, you'll also have the ability to get access into some of the other most commonly used formatting options as well. So let's say you wanted to insert a table, for example. You can actually do @table as well. Or you wanted to actually insert a heading. You can actually do @heading to actually get to some of these quick things as well. So really think of it as a quick way for you to get access to some of our most powerful features within Google Docs. Okay. And definitely feel free to play with it. You'll actually see a lot of cool things that I'll be showing you today. And I'll obviously probably discover a bunch of things that I don't have time to go through as well. So the first Smart Canvas building block that I want to walk you all through to is what we call the Smart Canvas Gmail draft or the email draft building block. The use cases for this really are when you think about when you need to send a big email out to a wide group or maybe an executive audience, right? And typically when you need to do those, often at times you need to collaborate with your colleagues on figuring out what to actually send out, proofread it, make sure you actually have everything covered. And so the way to do this is to take advantage of the collaborative features that we have built into our editors products and specifically within Docs. So what we have here is if you actually do @email draft, what will pop up is essentially this table that you see on the right-hand side that will essentially allow you to draft an email. You can put in the actual people that you want to actually send it to. You can have your CC, your BCC, and then you can start writing your text. And within starting writing your text, you can take all the advantages of all the things that we have built within Docs, like Smart Compose, grammar check, etc. That'll help you, again, create hopefully the best email that you can send out. Then you can also share the doc. You can tag users into the doc. You can take advantage of our commenting features within the docs to actually collaborate then with folks before actually sending out the email. The last thing I want to mention here, though, that is really kind of the icing on the cake, if you will, is that we've integrated this directly into Gmail as well. So on this particular button that you see over here on the upper left-hand side, once you click on that, you'll actually be taken directly into a Gmail dialog that essentially allows you to just send the email. You can continue to make tweaks, obviously, if you need to, but we'll take everything that you've populated within the actual doc, within the draft, and then push it directly into Gmail. So you don't have to do any more copy and pasting if that's what you're doing today. You don't have to look at who you're actually sending it to because everything is actually pulled from Google Docs into Gmail. The next building block that I'll talk about here is calendar draft. So this is something new. So some of you all may not have yet seen this, but we did announce this and it is coming out quite soon. And it's similar to the email draft that I walked through just now, but think of it now as creating this calendar draft. And again, these use cases are typically going to be when you need to schedule a big team offsite, maybe a summit. You got a lot of people coming together to collaborate again on planning what that summit is or what that offsite is. And so it's a really, again, easy way for users to collaborate on calendar events. Within the calendar event, you can set your title, you set your guest, you set your start time and your end time, your location and description. And we have the same type of direct integration back into calendar as well. So again, this takes away hopefully some of the mundane tasks that users do likely today around copy and pasting from one document to another or one document to calendar or into Gmail. And it directly puts users into the actual product that we've integrated directly with. And again, allows you to take advantage of all the collaborative features that you've got built with into Docs today. Very exciting to have this going out very shortly. The next one over here for building blocks that we'll talk about today is meeting notes. And this one is honestly probably one of my favorite building blocks that I use pretty much every day, if not multiple times a day. And it's often the question that users ask when you're in your meetings today. Hey, did anyone take notes? Well, really, I would say at the end of the day, every meeting should have notes. And we've made it super easy for users to actually create these notes within Docs so that we have a general template so that users can then just fill in, obviously, then the notes as well as the action items that appear within this template. What we've done with meeting notes, and I'll show an example later live, is that users can actually go into your doc, hit your @ sign, say @ meeting notes, and be able to select from a number of upcoming meetings that you have on your schedule. And what we do once we pull it into this particular building block is that we obviously have the date, we have the title to what your actual meeting is. We also pull in the attendees. We know who's attending, we know who's not attending, as well as pulling the attached files, right? So all of these things that you're likely doing on a manual basis today, we do with one simple action for the user to do, which is just @ meeting notes. I should mention there's also a couple of other ways to actually trigger this, and hopefully users have started to see this already, but you can also trigger meeting notes directly from the calendar invite as well. It does the exact same action that you would do whether you started the doc first. If you don't have a doc already for those meeting notes and you get ready to actually join your meeting from calendar, you'll see a take meeting notes and you can actually click on that and it creates the same thing, creates a brand new document directly for users to actually see. So really at that point, the meeting notes attached now to the calendar invite. It's also attached along with all the files that are associated to the calendar, and users can essentially collaborate and take notes in real time. And what, again, I hope many of you folks are already taking advantage of. The ability to actually collaborate directly in real time with meeting notes is an awesome feature that a lot of our users take advantage of. The other thing I should mention specifically on meeting notes is that we've done a lot of improvements from the initial release that we did with meeting notes as well. We now support actually recurring meetings as well. So again, a lot of you all may have one-on-ones for those one-on-one meetings, or maybe it's the quarterly board meetings that happen. You can now actually use this same document and leverage the meeting notes template that we've built in through the building block and actually trigger off recurring meetings as well. So again, not having to go scramble, not having to go create a new document, but leveraging the actual menu within here. It's actually triggered directly through these 3 dots over here that allow you to then select the upcoming meetings that'll be happening here as well. The other key thing that we've launched recently this year was the ability to actually attach further files. So take, for example, an instance where you joined a meeting, somebody presented, but that document or that slide presentation that was presented in the meeting was not actually attached into the calendar invite. So what then happens in that particular case, somebody's taking notes and then they attach it into the notes. Well, in this particular case now, we can actually do by, syncing both ways directly with Docs as well as Calendar. And so users can actually attach the file directly within the meeting notes, and then we can actually sync it back into Calendar as well. So again, just trying to take away some of those instances where you have to navigate between multiple tabs. A lot of people have multiple tabs as well, and they can't find certain things. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you to kind of complete these workflows as quickly and efficiently as possible. Very exciting. Again, one of the things that I would say, hopefully everyone on this call will likely use, if not have already used, or will use on a daily basis. And again, I think I forgot to put in the actual trigger sign. It's just at meeting notes, and you should be able to see it. All right, let's keep going. So the next building block that we have is our project roadmap building block. So really, this is if you think about scenarios where you have a document and you actually want to actually use that document to track the actual status of all the projects that are going on within your organization. I would say this is fairly basic project management tracker building block. It's got basic tables. It's got drop downs that are built within the actual tables, and users can obviously update and modify these tables as needed as well. The great thing about using project roadmaps within Docs is that oftentimes user has a number of other things that are actually put about the actual project within a single document. So now you can start to consolidate all the different areas where you're actually managing projects into hopefully a single document. The next one here we have is our Smart Canvas building block review tracker. And this review tracker, think of it as when users are asking if everybody's actually approved a document. Something that's commonly done, I would say, in the workplace today. And again, it creates a fairly straightforward table here that allows users to add in reviewers, track a status, as well as add additional notes to this as well. And you can start to think about how these building blocks can also apply directly into your daily workflows, because a lot of users today are maybe doing things like, highlighting a particular comment or going in and highlighting the actual title of the document, commenting someone in, saying you want to assign it and say, hey, would you mind actually reviewing this? We've started to formalize this a little bit more for users so that you can start to take advantage of how the document works and how the document interacts with the folks that you need to collaborate with. You can still do the same thing here as well. You can create this table, put in a reviewer, add a particular reviewer in the actual reviewer list, and then tag them in the same way that you've been doing comments as well. But again, structures it now in a way that makes it a lot easier for users and your collaborators to hopefully see what they need to do and take the action on the things that they actually need to do as well. Super excited and something that I honestly use obviously all the time as well. I think the last one over here is a really exciting feature that we are also just about to launch and have just started actually launching this week. And it's custom building blocks. So what I walked you all through just now is a number of different building blocks that we within Google have actually set up, within Docs have actually set up for users, knowing that we think and we believe and we see that users are actually leveraging a lot of these key features and workflows and tasks to actually help in their everyday workflows. But we know that we can't cover every single use case that every single person wants in this world. So what we've done here was build the ability for users to actually create their own custom building blocks. And really, again, these key use cases, think of the scenarios or think of all the times when you're constantly recreating maybe sections in a document. Maybe it's a particular way you need the document to look and feel, and you have certain sections that then have tables underneath or different summaries underneath that or text blocks underneath that, and you need to use that over and over again. Well, what you can do now is you can actually create your own building blocks within Google Docs, assign it a particular name, give it a quick description, and then actually access it in the same way that I've been talking about through that @ sign, those building blocks, so that you can use it in all of your docs going forward, as well as your docs in the past. What I've seen a lot of users do is often, simple tables as well. Maybe it's that project tracker table that I showed earlier, but instead of having those 4 columns, you actually have 5 or 6 columns, and you have different ways that you want to actually format it. And so what you can actually do is say, hey, I want to create my own project tracker task list, and create it yourself, highlight it, save it as a custom building block, and then have the ability to just use that building block going forward. What we've also built within the custom building blocks feature is the ability for you to fully manage that building block as well. So for whatever reason, let's say you don't need that building block anymore. You don't want to clutter the list of building blocks that you have available for you to actually use. um, you can actually go and delete that building block. Let's say you wanted to update it because maybe instead of status now, you want to call it, review tracker. And what you can do is you can actually go into the instance of the building block that we've saved for you, actually edit it directly, and then use it again going forward with the updated building blocks functionality. So again, very excited to actually launch this. This is something that has been asked, I would say, by a number of customers as well. Again, just knowing that we're never going to be able to actually build every single use case that the users want, but now we're going to give you all the control to actually take advantage and build these building blocks yourselves to really again increase your productivity and boost how you actually accomplish a lot of your workflows today. Very excited to get this out, and hopefully folks will start seeing this soon. All right, so that was building blocks. The next part of Smart Canvas really focuses around what we refer to as smart chips. And within smart chips, again, hopefully folks have started to see some of these things, especially with things like file chips and people chips. Essentially, think of smart chips now as it is essentially a structured data type that will allow users to really connect objects and also have potentially non-text interaction as well. So going back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of the evolution of how users are using documents, you can't interact necessarily with a piece of paper, but you can very much interact with a digital canvas. You can start to actually trigger different things for users to actually do to help you collaborate. And I would say at the end of the users to also delight your users as well with things like voting chips, which I'll talk about later on as well. But really what we've done here with smart chips is we've started to bring together a lot of different types of data into Google Docs to really drive collaboration and connection between products. These chips can allow users to really see also connected metadata. So things like when you hover over a particular chip, or maybe when you click on a particular chip, you can actually start to see more than just the person themselves, but also the details about who that person is. Um, Other things that I mentioned earlier as well, we can make these, and we have made these chips very much interactive as well. You can see here with the example on the upper left-hand side, it's a timer chip. And what users can do is they can actually insert chips and then actually hit the start button and then actually interact. It'll actually do a full countdown, and it'll actually let the user know when the actual timer then runs out. So I'll walk through a number of these things, but think of smart chips as this collection of individual components that can now actually even live within your building blocks or just within a document by itself. So I'll walk you through some of the most popular drop-down chips, as well as some of the chips that we have coming up, launching very soon. So the first one that I'll be walking through is drop-down chips. Drop-down chips is pretty much what you think it probably is, which is the ability to create drop-downs very quickly and very easily within Google Docs. Drop-down chips typically are used to, do things like update statuses of a document. Maybe it's a project, or maybe you just have a set of options of things that you want to allow users to actually choose from. What we do now is allow you to essentially build and customize these drop-down chips however you want. You can add more. I think we default, dependent upon some of the default chips that we have, things like project status will default to a certain set. But you can always add, you can always edit, you can change the color of these, and you can make this, whatever you actually need it to be to accomplish the thing that you need to get done. But really, drop-down chips, something that I think folks don't realize how often it can be used until you start using it. So definitely in the next document, give it a shot, try it out. Maybe just, again, status of a document is a very basic one that a lot of our users use today. The next one here is one that hopefully you've all seen, and that are people chips. Really, at the end of the day, collaboration is done with your colleagues, and you work with your colleagues each and every single day. And one of the most popular chips that we have today are these people chips. The way that users can actually insert people chips, again, use that @ sign. Once you hit the @ sign, you can actually just type in the name of the person you want to actually reference, and it'll actually create what we call these people chips that have the ability to pull in the additional metadata that I mentioned to show you more information about that particular user. So again, think of these use cases now of maybe the meetings that you're in. And there's 10 people in the meeting and you don't know who everybody is. Well, now in that meeting notes template that I showed you, we actually take advantage of these people chips and we'll actually show you all the people that are in it. You can actually hover directly over maybe somebody like Chris and immediately now see, oh, this is the user experience designer that I've been meaning to get to actually set up a meeting with. So instead of you now having to go maybe to your company intranet or go ask another person, hey, who is this Chris person? You can actually now start to see a lot more of this information and really get quicker access into potentially things like, oh, maybe I need to reach out to Chris as well. So we have simple quick actions like email, chat. You can start a meeting or you can schedule a calendar invite as well directly with these users, all from within this chip. Very exciting. I would say, obviously, it also depends on the data that is stored about that particular user as well within your organization. So the more information that you have within the organization about who that person is, the more information that we can actually show when the user actually does that hover state, right? So things like title, things like location, phone number, et cetera, are all things that are basically pulled in from how you manage your company and your organization's users and your contacts, so that users can actually pull and directly access these people cards directly from the doc. So the next one here that I'll be talking about are file chips. File chips, again, another popular chip of ours. They can be created both, again, also from that but also directly when you paste a URL into a document. So again, you're starting probably to see that trend, right? Everything is triggered through the app. And what we've also started to build within the app are some basic search capabilities within the app to allow users, again, to more quickly accomplish the task that they need to, right? So let's say you're writing a document about this test and you need to actually reference it. What you're likely doing today is you either have that tab open, maybe in a different tab, so you got to go find it, or maybe you don't have it, so maybe you go to Drive, or maybe you go to the Docs homepage and you go look for this test document, right? Once you go find that test document, then you likely open that document, copy the URL, go back to your original document, and then paste it in, right? And you can see just from that, it's a task that is done over and over and over again, likely for most of our users, that we saw the ability to really boost and improve your productivity by allowing you to just reference that document directly when you're in the actual document that you're actually working on. And so really the actual benefits also that you get from inserting these file chips are also going to be things like a preview state as well. So what you see here is an example of what happens when a user actually hovers over that test document. And so they can instantly see now the test document. There's actually a copy URL link that tells you who the owner is. It tells you when the last changes are actually done. And it gives you a little snapshot of what that document is, so that users can actually reference it a lot quicker as well. So really cool feature, I would say. The next time I would say that you're thinking about hyperlinking a particular file to a text string, try using a file chip as well, right? And we've also done a number of things knowing that users sometimes will actually just paste the URL, and a lot of these things, users have to get used to using smart chips and smart canvas components. So we know that when users paste, we have smart logic to actually detect, oh, hey, this user actually pasted a URL of a document. And so users can actually hit the tab, which is what you see on the top here, to actually replace that URL stream with the actual file chip as well. All right. The next one to walk through is date chips. And so date chips really is a quick and easy way for you to add dates directly into your document. These dates can actually be interactive so that you can actually check to see, or actually change the dates as needed. And then you can also do, basic date ranges as well for quick inserting. You can do things like, oh, today's date. You can do tomorrow's date. You can do next week. And we'll actually do quick logic based off of what the user puts in. We've also started to add things like time as well. So you can start thinking about how this is useful for things like calendar event drafts. So not only do I obviously want to have a date, but I also want to have a time for when the meeting is, obviously. So users can now start to combine both date and time directly into this and start to reference a lot of this as well for users. The next one here is a chip that we call calendar event. So these are chips that directly reference meetings, calendar events that you have already set up within Google Calendar. And each of these chips now directly go and link directly to Calendar. Typically, I think what we've seen is these are perfect for managing when you have a large set of events. So again, let's think back to the summit example that we talked about earlier. Imagine now you have a summit calendar, you've got 2 weeks of meetings and events. Now you can actually create a document that actually has a store of what all of these meetings are going to be throughout your summit, and then use smart chips as quick references for ways for users to actually access those meeting events directly. So it's very easy to actually do this. You can just do at the event name, if you remember the event name as well. So you can just do at LUNCH and it should pop up and you can actually select it. One other thing that we've actually built into this feature as well, knowing that users may actually reference this with maybe even a single meeting. Knowing that I have a lunch meeting with Shirley, maybe I start a document so I can start taking some quick notes. Well, what we do is once you actually trigger this lunch meeting with Shirley, we'll actually ask you to as well if you want to create a meeting note building block as well. So again, trying to adjust and trying to be contextual with our users in the moments that they actually need it to leverage a lot of these key functionalities and features that we want our users to really discover and to use. So having these tie in are just natural components of how we can see users really taking advantage of all the neat building blocks and smart chip features that we have. The next chip that I'll walk through is what we call our maps chips. So really, this is again now creating the ability to have simple map chips. This is when you need to reference a location, for example. We actually have direct integration into Google Maps, so you can reference really literally any location, I would say, in the world. These locations are searchable directly through the @ sign as well. So again, I can just do at Paris Baguette, which is one of my favorite bakeries. And you can then just select it. Go ahead and what it does is it creates an actual chip that when the user hovers again over it or clicks on it, they can actually see things like actual preview directly from Google Maps. You can actually do directions as well. So it's a great way to say, again, going back to that summit example, now I've got my summit draft ready. I've got all the events now planned out. And not only do I have the events, but I also have the locations of all these events directly accessible directly within this document. And if users need to now get directions to where they need to go, maybe for the company dinner, users can actually just go straight from here, click on a link, takes you directly into Google Maps where you can see quick directions to how to get there. So really fun, really powerful direct integrations, as I mentioned earlier as well. The next one here is what we refer to as tasks, really, and it's the ability to assign tasks. I think many users, hopefully, are using our checkbox features directly within Google Docs today. And what we decided to do really with tasks is start to integrate our checkbox ability with Google Tasks. And really think of it as the ability for you to hopefully boost how you manage your action items and your to-dos. You're in a meeting note document, and you're actually in the meeting, you're taking your notes, and maybe you have AIs and you have next steps that you need to actually define. You can start adding that directly within the meeting notes building block. And as you're adding each of these particular checklist items into the meeting notes, what you'll start to see now is the ability for us to actually convert these action items or next steps into actual Google tasks. And so what happens is, again, a two-way integration where you can actually assign these AIs to a particular user within your organization. You can actually even sign a due date as well for that particular user. And then what it does, it then will create a actual Google task for the user to actually accomplish and to do. You can create these not only just for yourself, but you can assign these in very much the same way that you can assign comments today. You can assign it to a colleague of yours as well. What we've also done as well with the task integration is you can see here on the right-hand side, we'll also attach the actual document where it originated from. And that, again, starts to boost how users can get things done. I'm sure often many of you have created AIs and created tasks, and it was like, okay, identify project owners. But then you don't exactly remember which project you were actually working on because you don't have a reference to what the document was. So what we've done here is directly integrated it all so that as these tasks get created, it also attaches and links directly to the document where it came from. So it's a lot quicker. Users can then actually accomplish those tasks directly from actual Google Tasks, or they can actually close it out directly from within the document as well. So you can actually check it from within Google Doc. We'll actually push it directly to Google Tasks or vice versa. Really neat integration as well. The next one here is timer chips. So really, these are one of those interactive chips that I mentioned earlier today as well. Users can now actually do quick countdown timers, and it's really great for what I've used it in the past now for brainstorming sessions, collaborating meetings, where you essentially have breakout groups, right? And within these breakout groups, you say, okay, everybody's got 5 minutes to actually come up with as many ideas as possible. So you can quickly now just do @timer. We'll default, I believe, to 5 minutes currently today, but you can adjust it to anything that you want it to be. Maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 10 seconds. And it's quick. Once it's actually done, an actual toast does come up on the bottom of the page to let the user know that the actual timer is done. Very neat, very interactive as well, like as I mentioned, and something that just couldn't be done before. So super excited to get this out. I believe it should already be out currently today. And then we also have stopwatch chips, which is, again, similar to timer, but now we're counting up versus counting down. And what we've seen a lot of the use cases for things like this are particular things like, let's say you're doing a big presentation like this one right now. And I need to practice. I need to practice going through the actual deck. I need to practice going through what I'm actually going to say. So I've actually narrated exactly what I want to actually say in a Google Doc. And then I'm actually going to go through it. And so what you can actually do is trigger a stopwatch chip. And within that stopwatch chip, it does exactly what you think it probably needs to do, which is just starts a timer. Then once you're actually done, you can hit stop and you can actually see the overall time. So again, just taking away some of the things that we've actually seen many users do, where maybe I have a document I'm presenting, and then they open up another website that just so happens to have a basic timer chip, or just so happens to have a stopwatch chip. And then they have another tab open, and then they start it over there. They get back into the doc, and then they do what they need to do, and then they're constantly tracking the other tab. We've brought it all together. We've made it a lot easier for users to actually do all this within the context of docs to, again, boost that productivity. Oh, this one's a fun one. So this is what I like to call emojis everywhere. One of the things that hopefully you all have noticed over the last couple years is that people love emojis. It's a great way for users to express how they think, how they feel, how they want to react to certain things within a document. So we've got things now like comment emojis, which is what you see over here as well. But we've also got things now called voting chips. And the ability for actually users to actually create things like a table. And maybe it's a brainstorming table. And within that brainstorming table, you now have a column that you want to call voting. And you invite 20 people into the document. Now, instead of users having to, type in, yes, I like this one, or type a comment and say +1 to this, they can just easily now have voting chips. And so this example over here, you can see like a thumbs up. Users can just click on this. It is 1 vote per user, right? So we track all that for you. You can actually unvote if you accidentally voted something, but you can't vote for somebody else either. And it's quickly referenceable directly to the person that actually did the voting, right? We also do support, I would say, some default emojis like thumbs up, like the plus emoji, but we also do now allow users to expand and use any emoji that you want to as well within the document. So you can see all the different fun examples of how emojis also bring a little bit more, I would say, life to your document as well. A little bit more of that delight that I mentioned earlier. That makes it just a lot more, I would say, fun, if that's the right word, when you're collaborating with your colleagues. And so, super excited. We're going to continue to push, I would say, emojis through a variety of different areas within the documents. And this is just obviously one quick start of where we're going to be. I think this may be almost the last slide, but one of the other upcoming launches that we're doing that actually it's rolling out, I believe, this week is variables. Something that I hope folks have seen or have heard about now. And users now will have the ability to actually insert dynamic variables into your document. So I believe this is an example of an invoice where you have, let's just say 5 different products. You reference it directly into your actual invoice itself, but then it's also referenced later down below here as well on your thank you comment as well. So this is just one basic example of how variables can potentially be used. It's great for things like contracts, honestly, as well, where you have things like customer names or you have address that's referenced in multiple places in a document. You can now actually do @variable and actually create these placeholders essentially for users and for the collaborators to essentially say, oh, okay, hey, here's the customer name that I want to have. Here's the overall template or the draft of what the actual contract's going to look like. And then once the customers come in, now I have a single document where I can just replace customer name each time and then export it out directly for users to actually use and share with folks as well. So very exciting for us. Variables is a big project, something that I think our users have asked for as well quite often. And it really, I would say, starts to open the doors to a lot more of how your document can be more dynamic, can be more useful for your daily workflows. I know one other colleague of mine loves to use variables for performance reviews. It's a great way to have kind of standard things that you have to do, and then you're inserting who you're actually talking to, obviously then customizing it with the additional things, but it gives you that base template of things that you have to go through each and every time to make sure that you're kind of checking all your lists. Very excited to get this out. A lot more that we're going to be doing with variables, I would say, as well going forward. And folks should start seeing this out hopefully in the next couple of weeks as we start rolling this out. All right. The last slide here is what we've been referring to as 3P smart chips. This is very exciting for us as well because we understand and we know that as users are using products like Google Docs, you're also probably using other 3P products as well. You're probably not doing everything just in Workspace as much as we would love for you to do that. You're probably also working on things like, let's just say Salesforce or Asana or different tools out there that help you do things like bug tracking, for example. Well, what we've done now is created the ability for partners and developers to create what we're calling 3P smart chips as well. So if you think back to what I mentioned earlier about file chips and how users like to just paste URLs into documents, this is an example here where now, let's say a user is just pasting a URL into a document that is of a 3P integrated product that we have within Docs. It'll actually directly detect that this URL is in reference to a particular 3P object, converted into an actual smart chip. And then it brings all the benefits of what smart chips gives to you now, which is this ability to have hover states, this ability to actually take action even over these hover states as well, so that users now don't have to navigate and switch back and forth between tabs when you're working on things. So again, you can see the example here. User actually does a paste, I think right here, then gets converted directly into a smart chip. And then users now, all your collaborators, users who actually have access into this document, can now actually see that preview for what the actually this approved cleaning materials actually does. The way this is integrated is that users do have to add on the workspace add-on. So you would actually add on that particular add-on. Once that add-on is in workspace, we then have the ability then to say, oh, hey, let's quickly check all these URLs that are being pasted in to see if we can actually convert it into a smart chip. All right. I'm going to pause right here on the Q&A. There were a number of questions that came up, but before I do this, I was told that folks love to see demos. So what I have here actually is a quick demo for you all for you to see actually some of this and how it's used in real time, right? It's great to obviously see sometimes the deck and see these examples, but it's better to even see how this actually can be used. So one of the quick things, so if we think back to when I started, everything is triggered through the at, right? So when you're in a document or you start a new document, often at times, users are not sure. It's like, oh, I actually really need to take those meeting notes. Well, now users can actually go in here, right? And you can now start to see, once I hit that at sign, this is that dialog that pops up. And once that dialog pops up, you can now start to see those components that I've just walked you all through, those smart chips, as well as those building blocks. But what I want to do here is I want to do meeting notes, right? One of my favorite ones that I mentioned. So you can see here that as I type in MEE, meeting notes becomes the top, and I can go ahead and hit enter. Oh, no results found. I thought I did have some meetings set up. One second. Let's make sure that I have my meetings all set up in here. All right, here we go. Meeting notes. All right, I can actually even see one quick thing here that I think I mentioned earlier, how you can even just type in the actual meeting event itself. And so you can see here that I have a lunch meeting with Shirley. And let's see if this comes up now. Okay, great. You can now start to see, hey, here's all the meetings that are coming up for me. I have this lunch meeting with Shirley today. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what you can see now here is this instant building block that has just been popped up for you. The user can actually see now that I'm actually in this meeting. Shirley is also in this meeting. There's a test document that is linked to the actual calendar invite that we pull in directly into here. And then I can immediately now start to take notes. I don't have to think about setting everything up, right? I can immediately now start to take notes, presentation made for Smart Canvas, right? I also talked about action items earlier today, right? And about these tasks and the ability to actually assign it. So prep for board meeting on Thursday, right? And I'm going to go ahead and click on this button right here. And I'm going to assign it to myself. Okay. And I'm going to say, hey, board meetings on Thursday, better have it due. So I'm going to go ahead and assign a task. And what happens here too is you can see now we start to pull in other information to show that this is actually now a task that's assigned to a user, right? I can say get deck ready for sales meeting, right, on Wednesday. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to Shirley. And so similar things here, you can start to see all these interaction patterns, right, that I've mentioned earlier with this advantage of being on a digital canvas. And you can now start to see how all this stuff ties together, right? So how does this all translate into Google Tasks, you may ask? Well, great. Well, this is my task list. And you can see now prep for board meeting on Thursday now has popped up directly into my Google Tasks. You can see my due date that I set earlier for May 25th. And you can also see the actual link to the Google Doc that references where it is. And as I mentioned, I can go ahead and close my task here. I can go ahead and clean my task over here, but it talks to each other, right? So if I go ahead and click on that task over here, you can see that it instantly actually referenced and changed that task back over here as well. So we're always going to be where the user is and not necessarily always have to force the user to be where they may need to be. So in this particular case, I was in task. Maybe I was doing something else, but I was able, oh, yes, I'm done. I'm done prepping for the board meeting. I can just close it directly here within Google Task. Other things that I mentioned earlier as well, recurring meetings, right? So How do I actually set up recurring meetings? Well, because that meeting is already set up as a recurring meeting within Google Calendar, we know that. And I have a weekly meeting with Shirley for lunch. And you can see here now, I've got another one for next week. And what I can quickly do now is also just reference that recurring meeting so I can start to actually prepare for that meeting as well. A couple of other things that I mentioned earlier too is maybe for my next week meeting, it looks like I have this test prezo attached to it, but I no longer have the test document. That's a mistake, right? So we have abilities now for users to actually add an attachment here. And what you can see here is that once you add it, we will actually prompt you and say, hey, do you actually want to attach this back to the meeting invite as well? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So what this does, again, two-way, being where the user is, and really, again, helping users be more productive, I would say, at the end of the day, too. And the last thing I'll go ahead and show you all is email drafts, right? So two things. So you can see here what I did, email draft. Now you start to bring together everything that I've just mentioned, that I've mentioned to you all, right? So what can I actually do? Well, I can do at Shirley, which then references the people chip. Let's say I want to send it to myself as well. So I'm going to go ahead and send it to myself. Prep for board meeting on Thursday. Okay. And then now what I'm actually going to do is start to insert my text. So since this went over to the next line, so hi Shirley. Right, and then we can say things like, hey, at May 25th, I think is the Thursday, we have our board meeting. And you can actually do things like referencing documents, right? So let's say in here, I want to reference this test document, right, that I mentioned earlier. It's the best place for us to start drafting our deck, right? Sounds good enough for now. Well, so what we've done here is now we've drafted it, right? I can now tag users in. I can say, hey, actually, Shirley, would you mind? Check this, right? I can go ahead and comment in here. So all of the same collaboration capabilities that you are all used to, hopefully using within Docs, you can now take advantage of, right? So I can collaborate with whoever I need to. And then let's say once Shirley is done with this, we want to actually send this email out, right? So this is what I mentioned earlier with the preview in Gmail. And so if I go ahead and click on this, I think you may not be able to see it, so I may have to reference it back here now. So hopefully now you can see the preview. So now what happens is we've actually created a dialogue that's basically Gmail that we pulled over all of the content directly from the document, along with who it needs to be sent to, the actual subject, as well as other content. And the great thing that you can see here too is that we've actually done the conversion as well. We know that these are chips, and in Gmail right now we don't yet support chips, so we're going to go ahead and convert these into actual text objects. But the hyperlink as well also works, right? So within the actual file chip, we've converted that file chip now into a actual hyperlink for the user to actually do. So then at this point, I can go ahead and hit send, and it will actually send the email. All right. I believe that was what I wanted to cover for the demo. Let's go back really quick to some of the questions, and I'm conscious of time, so hopefully we'll be able to answer some of the questions now that we've seen come up. All right. Oh, sorry, increasing the font size. Sorry, I think things are a little small on that, so I apologize for that. So a couple Q&A. I think I went through a list of questions specifically that we saw come in, and I kind of pulled together what I saw as some high overarching themes in terms of what people want to learn and know a little bit more about. So I think one of the quick initial questions were around compatibility and expansion. I think there were some questions around 3P. There were some questions around how do you integrate now and the compatibility with other products. So all of what we do with Smart Canvas, as you saw with the Gmail example as well just now, with the Gmail example, you saw that we actually will convert these particular chips when we know we need to convert them into things like hyperlinks, into things like back into URLs or back into text objects as well. So let's say you actually want to take a particular doc file and then move it into Word. Those smart Canvas smart chips will actually be converted back into objects that then Word can obviously understand. Now, going vice versa, we don't have that ability just yet, but it's something that we're working on. Another question. Oh, and then sorry, on the expansion front as well. As you saw with the last example on the smart chips, we are expanding with 3P. So there's a lot more exciting things that we're actually going to be doing with 3P that we'll be announcing hopefully later this year. Will you support this on mobile? Straight answer I would say is yes. Currently today, we do not support a lot of the Smart Canvas features, but a lot of those features will be coming throughout this year. What new and exciting features are coming? I don't want to spoil all the fun, but as you can imagine here, Smart Canvas is a huge part of what we are doing within Docs. We see this again as an evolution of how users collaborate and boost productivity within Docs. So there are a number of new Smart Canvas building blocks, number of new Smart Canvas smart chips. They're going to be coming out in the near future and for a long time. We're very excited about the potential of where it can go. I mentioned the 3P earlier as well. There's a lot of opportunity there, again, as you start to think about how users use documents today, how they use it within their daily workflows, and how can we actually improve those daily workflows for those users going forward. So stay tuned. For those of the folks obviously on NDA, you can start to see some of those features popping up in our overarching roadmap. But very excited for us to continue to boost and I would say push the boundaries of how users collaborate and work day to day. The last thing I wanted to bring up was discoverability. I saw a lot of questions that popped up in the sign up sheet around just, I don't even know what Smart Canvas is. I want to just learn how to actually use it better. And so, this is something that we're actively addressing, as you saw with some of the features that we're doing with the contextualness of when users paste their URL and then actually being able to do tab. We want to actually show a lot more of what these components and these building blocks and these smart chips are capable of doing. I can probably guess that even if a number of you all were using the Smart Canvas meeting notes building block, a lot of you all probably didn't realize that you can also use it for the recurring meetings. A lot of you all probably didn't realize that you can also send the email directly from those meeting notes as well. So a lot of these things are going to be on us as the Google Docs team to really, bring to the forefront, really find those opportunities to help you learn, right? And then again, as users start to see it, hopefully this will trigger all the folks on this call to become those initial users within the companies to start using Smart Canvas. And then as you start using it, then your colleagues start to see it. And when they start to see it, they're going to be like, oh, wow, what's this neat dropdown? What's this neat people card that I see now? And then you can help be that trigger for the further discoverability and adoption of Smart Canvas within your organization as well. And again, we're going to do a lot of stuff on our side, but we're going to lean on you as well to be those advocates for us going forward as well. I think that is it. I'll pause really quick just to make sure if there were any other open questions that were posted. I think most of these questions were answered by Jeffrey. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for helping to answer a number of questions here. Anything else? Let me see. Got a couple of other questions here. Okay, when are these coming to Sheets? Yes, so great question. Smart Canvas and what you see in Sheets today, you've started to see a little bit of this already being announced, I would say, over the last couple of months. This is coming to Sheets. It's coming very soon. So I would say stay tuned again. Check out our roadmap. But a lot of these capabilities and these functionalities, as you can imagine, will work great in Sheets as well. Any other questions? Jeffrey, I'll do a quick check again. All right. Will there be a multi-select option for chips? Yes, and so this is specifically when with those drop down abilities, right? So yeah, so I think we're looking at a variety of new chips. I would say constantly. You're going to see a lot more chips coming out through the year. I think continue to provide and ask these types of questions because it gives us a sense also of what our users want to see and use on a daily basis. But again, these are going to be a lot. You're going to see a lot more chips coming out in the near future. All right. Any other questions? All right. I think that may be it. Well, I wanted to say thank you again for everybody who dialed in and hopefully learned something new about what Smart Canvas is, how to actually use it, how to boost and maximize your productivity, and again, hopefully be those advocates within your organization to start using Smart Canvas as well, because it only takes one. And as we all collaborate, hopefully folks can learn and again be more productive in your daily workflows. um, I'll hand it back over to you, Carissa, and we'll wrap it up.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Dennis, for that amazing presentation. I learned so much and took notes and really, really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Jeffrey, who's another product manager, helping us out answering questions. Just some next steps. We put in the chat there the feedback form link. So please fill that out for us. We truly value your feedback. Also mentioned in the chat that if you want to stay up to date on the community events, I put in the community event link. You can also subscribe to that page from the top right in the topic option so you get email notifications with the events. I also put in some courses that from Google that you can take to help out with Google Docs, but also just admin and end user learning for Workspace. And yeah, that wraps up our presentation today. Last thing I did want to mention was that we will have a post for the general workspace community with a recap, and then for those NDA specific questions that were asked, we will have a follow-up in the customer connect as well. And we put instructions on how to sign up for that if you're under NDA as well. So thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time. We hope you learned a lot. Don't forget the feedback form. We'll see you in the community. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.